I'm traveling back in time to when cowboys ruled the prairie.
Yeehaw! When buffaloes roamed the plains.
And when steam trains ran America.
Loving it!
This is the hardest working steam locomotive in the USA.
They don't make them like this anymore, baby. This is living, breathing history right here, today.
My name is Matt Baum. Ever since I was a kid, I've been obsessed with trains. My day job? I work on a railroad in Maine. But this is my dream. To ride the biggest, fastest, most awesome trains in history.
This is the Union Pacific 844, the finest steam locomotive ever built.
It's been pulling passengers and freight across the country since 1944. In fact, it's the longest running steam locomotive in America. Now it's going to take 750 passengers on the ride of their lives.
Picking them up in Denver and bringing them here to the magic city of the plains, Cheyenne, Wyoming.
To see this.
The biggest rodeo in the world.
It's the most prized ticket in American railroading.
All aboard!
And I've got a VIP pass. It's a 100-mile straight shot from Cheyenne down to Denver's Union Station. There, we'll turn the train around, collect the rail fans, and bring them back to Cheyenne for the rodeo.
Most people think that the age of steam railroading is dead, but not here in Cheyenne. This is home to the largest working steam locomotive shop in America. The UP Steam Shop.
Here, a dedicated team of workers are busy getting the 844 ready for her big day. And this gigantic locomotive needs a lot of attention.
From one end to the other, it's 114 feet, and it weighs over 450 tons.
That's the same weight as a jumbo jet. We're talking a lot of locomotive.
Starting this giant locomotive is like waking a sleeping dragon.
And that's something you want to do very carefully.
If they heat this locomotive up too fast, the metal's going to expand, rivets are going to shoot out, it's going to cause all kinds of damage. So what they do is they take warm steam, they pump it through this hose into the boiler and warm it up slowly.
It's like warming your car on a cold winter's morning, but a lot more dangerous.
The temperature of this steam is nearly 400 degrees. That's enough to melt the skin right off your face. So Ed here wants to make sure this hose is on tight.
Now we need to fire up the steam generator.
Let's go check it out. This over here is the steam generator. Right here. What it boils down to, it's just like a giant teapot. Makes steam. Once the steam is created, it goes through that white pipe over there, over to the engine. Let's make some steam. Ed, is it all right if I press the button? You bet. All right. Oh, man. Here we go. If I open this valve up, the 844 is going to come to life. That pipe, see it? It's feeding the steam to our locomotive right here. And you can feel it. This pipe is boiling hot. It's kind of like the first day of winter when the central heating system in your house warms up. You hear it popping and creaking. What's going on right here is this beast is waking up. Ow! It takes skill, craftsmanship, and patience to work on these giants.
But the basic principles of a steam engine are pretty simple. Here's how it works. Fuel is burnt in the firebox to create heat. The heat turns water into steam. As the steam expands, it's forced through a series of pipes into a set of pistons. The pressure of the steam drives the pistons. That's what makes the wheels go round. For the Union Pacific Steam Team, caring for the 844 is more than just a job. It's a labor of love.
Gotta make her happy. She's a living, breathing creature. She's alive.
Yep, you gotta treat her right.
This locomotive is about ready to go out on the road. But because it doesn't have any fuel in it yet, it has to be pulled out of the shop using an engine called the Yard Goat.
It's only about 1,200 horsepower. Doesn't sound like much, but this baby's made to pull. We're gonna go in and hook onto the 844. We're gonna drag it out, fire it up. Boom, there's the hook. Glenn, how do you feel when you bring that big beast out like that?
Getting pretty used to it, but
Still, I mean, come
it's
on.
nice to get it out in the sunlight.
Yeah.
It doesn't really belong in a building.
And there she is in all her glory out in the sunlight. It's beautiful.
The 844 was originally built to run on coal, but that was too expensive. So now it runs on recycled engine oil.
The oil comes in this truck right here. And it's some nasty stuff.
The oil is pumped into a giant tank that sits behind the locomotive called a tender.
This tender can hold 6,500 gallons of oil. If you were gonna do that at the gas pump, it cost you $26,000. This is the fuel hose. It's gonna plug into that tank right there. Shut off and on. Okay. Bam, it's hooked up, we're ready to start pumping some oil. The oil comes from the truck down there. It's pumped up this hose, goes right into here and down into the tank. You can see it in there. It's filling up. All right, show us the dipstick. Wow, look at that dipstick. Oh, wow. It's getting up there now.
75 inches full.
It's like a dipstick for your car, except it's about 8 feet long.
6,500 gallons of oil might sound like a lot, but this engine sure can drink.
For every mile, the 844 burns 15 to 25 gallons of this fuel right here. That's one of the reasons they had to get rid of these locomotives, because they're not very efficient.
But filling up with fuel is only half the job. It's not called a steam locomotive for nothing. This locomotive needs water.
If you don't have water, you don't have steam. That's the water going into this tank right here, 28,000 gallons. It's gonna make the steam.
To stop the engine from getting clogged with limescale, they add a special chemical to the water. Limescale is caused by a mineral called calcium carbonate. Above 70 degrees, it forms deposits that can clog the boiler pipes with gunk, and the whole thing could explode. The 844 is loaded with fuel and water. It's time to fire it up.
We like fire. This could be dangerous. Ed has on protective gear, could flash back, and it wouldn't be pretty. Okay, we're gonna take this oily rag here. We're gonna set it right on the firebox. We're gonna take this fusee, which is a flare, light it up, light the rag up, throw the rag into the firebox, and blam, fire. What's happening now is the oil is slowly being fed into the firebox, and it's very, very hot. It's gotta be a couple of thousand degrees. My gloves feel like they're catching on fire right now. Woo! Looks kind of quiet right now, but soon this is gonna be hauling more than a half-mile worth of passenger coaches behind it. It's gonna be going up to 70 miles an hour. It's gonna be freaking awesome, man. This is the magic city of the plains, Cheyenne, Wyoming. Over the next few days, over 300,000 people are going to be arriving here in Cheyenne.
And they're coming to see one thing.
The biggest rodeo in the world. And a select few will be coming in on a very special train.
This is the Union Pacific number 844. The 844 was the last steam locomotive to be built for the Union Pacific Railroad. When it left the factory in 1944, it was the pinnacle of modern engineering.
The 844 was built for speed. On the flats, it could pull 26 passenger cars over 100 miles an hour. It could make the trip from Cheyenne to Salt Lake in just 10 hours.
Today, it's going from the Union Pacific Yard in Cheyenne, 100 miles south to Denver, to collect 750 rail fans and bring them back to Cheyenne for the rodeo.
I've always wanted to ride one of these classic steam locomotives, and now I'm gonna get the chance.
But before we can go anywhere, we need to get this 450-ton locomotive on the right track. That's where the turntable comes in. It's like a giant Lazy Susan, but for trains.
So they can spin the engine around and put it anywhere they want.
Here's how it works. A locomotive rolls off one set of tracks onto the turntable. The table spins and lines up with a new set of tracks, and the locomotive rolls off again.
There's been a turntable here since the 1860s. This one can hold 800 tons on it. It's powered by electricity. Back in the day, they powered it by compressed air. Even before that, they powered it with pure manpower.
First, we have to lock the tracks. If the table moves while the locomotive is rolling on, it could derail.
Locks it up. Now you can bring a locomotive off the turntable right to this track, right there. That thing is huge. It barely fits on this turntable. Look at it.
Once the locomotive is on the turntable, the tracks are unlocked. And with the pull of a lever, I'm spinning a 450-ton piece of railroading history.
Spinning the 844, what an honor, man. All right, now it's facing towards Denver. Let's go get the coaches.
We're gonna hook the 844 onto 26 of America's finest vintage rail cars.
The problem is that a lot of them are close to 60 years old. You have to be very delicate. You can't slam them around like freight cars.
For the crew, the pressure is on. One mistake and a piece of railroad history could be damaged forever. Here's how they do it.
This is Ed. He's the engineer. He controls this beast. All these levers, all these controls, the whistle. It's his job to drive this. He runs the locomotive.
The radio communications they have on the 844 isn't something they would have had back in the 1940s. Back then, they would have used hand signals and whistles.
1 toot, we're standing still. 2 toots, we're going ahead. 3 toots, we're backing up. A succession of short toots like toot, 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 toot means get the heck off the track. Here comes the 844. Sucker.
Train cars are connected by a device called a coupler. When 2 couplers hit, they should hook up automatically.
All right, we're backing up. We're gonna make the hook. We don't want to make a hard one. We don't want to damage those passenger coaches. They're some of the oldest in America. The hook didn't make. He's gonna slam back into the hook now. Well, he wasn't trying to slam. He's gonna do it nice and easy. There's the hook. We made it. We're about ready to go. Denver, here we come. The noises are amazing. There's so many different sounds. There's the chuffing, the floor's shaking, there's thumping. I'm riding a living, breathing piece of history right here.
the 844 first rolled out of the factory in the 1940s, it pulled high-speed passenger trains. But when diesel locomotives took over in the 1950s, Union Pacific decided steam engines were too expensive to maintain. In 1959, they stopped commercial steam operations altogether. The 844 was sent to Omaha to work in a yard melting snow off the tracks. By 1960, it was the only steam engine left in operation and was set aside for special occasions, like trips to the rodeo. The 844 is halfway to Denver, and we've changed crews. Everyone wants a turn at running a piece of history.
I know from running a modern diesel locomotive, it's pretty simple. You just pull the throttle out and go. Up here in the 844, it's a lot different. There's a lot more going on. All right, let's introduce you to the crew. Get Cameron over here, he's the fireman. It's his job to make the steam. Get Steve, that's the engineer. He's running the engine. The more steam the engineer uses, the more the fireman has to keep making it.
If the fireman lets the fire go out, the train will literally run out of steam and grind to a halt.
Cameron here decides how much oil he wants to feed to the fire. He's looking at what Steve's doing over there with the throttle. Depending on the throttle position, that's going to decide how much steam the engine is using.
But running out of steam isn't the worst thing that can happen.
The most dangerous thing that can happen on a steam locomotive is to run out of water. And the boiler in front of us is about 10 miles of pipes. There's not enough water in those pipes. It's going to get really, really hot. Eventually, it's going to explode.
The history of steam locomotives is littered with boiler explosions. February 1911, Smithville, Texas. The boiler on a yard engine blows up. 4 men lose their lives and 12 are injured. March 1912, San Antonio, Texas. 26 people are killed when a Southern Pacific locomotive explodes. December 1934, Fayette County, West Virginia. A locomotive hauling mine workers blows up, killing 18. It's up to the firemen to keep track of how much water is going into the boiler.
Right there's the water glass. That's what the fireman has to watch to make sure there's enough water in the boiler. You see it bobbing down up in there. He's got to keep a keen eye on that. Very important part of his job.
There's no reserve tank. If the fireman gets the water level wrong, it could be fatal.
If there's not enough, the boiler's going to explode. Boom! Right now, I'm riding the hardest working steam locomotive in America. The Union Pacific 844. They don't make them like this anymore, baby.
And I'm heading to Denver to pick up a posse of rail fans and take them to the world's biggest rodeo in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Goodbye, Wyoming. Hello, Colorado.
It might look pretty, but I've got to tell you, this is one of the scariest trains I've ever ridden. Because we're doing 60 miles an hour and I can't see where we're going. Modern locomotives have windows at the front, so the engineer and conductor can see what's up ahead.
If you want to look at a signal, just look out the window. It's right there in front of you. On this locomotive, the whole locomotive is in front of you, so you got to stick your head out that window.
That's not a problem on a straight track, but on a left-hand curve, the engineer can't see anything.
Steve, this is a huge locomotive. So how far can you see ahead with this big locomotive in front of you?
If you're going around a curve, you can't see anything to the left.
Steve's going to be blind if we're going around a curve this way.
So if there's a red signal or another train, the engineer can't see it coming. But the fireman can.
Firemen's also watching the tracks ahead, especially if they're on a curve. That's why they have to have 2 guys up here.
But that's not the scariest thing about this line.
Between Denver and Cheyenne, there's only 1 set of tracks. That means if there's another train coming, it's got to get out of the way, or these guys are going to smash into it.
And right now, there is something up ahead.
There's a freight train up ahead. One of us better get out of the way. It's going to get nasty.
When a train needs to pass another train on a single track, one of them must go into a special side track called a siding. It's like a passing place on a country road.
We're meeting another train. He's coming in the siding here.
The freight train is in front of us right now, clearing the main track. He's going into a siding, so he's still out there on the other end, so these guys have to slow down and let him get in the clear.
The freight train's out of the way, and the tracks ahead are clear. For a while, anyway.
Here we go again. The freight trains keep coming. They're not going to stop. They run 24/7, even if the old steam train's out here.
Today, freight trains along this line carry everything from sneakers to iPods. But 150 years ago, they carried gold. The gold rush of 1858 turned Denver into a mecca for gold prospectors. And the town became a supply hub for the flourishing mining industry. But Denver was isolated. The wagon trains that supplied the city were easy targets for bandits and robbers. But in 1870, the railroad changed everything. This line from Cheyenne brought in essential supplies and shipped out the town's freshly minted gold. As a result, Denver's population grew from 5,000 to over 100,000 in a single generation.
We've arrived in Denver, but we've got a problem. This train is so long, it's like 3/4 of a mile long. And look at it, it goes way down there. The engines are way up there. And that is long for a passenger train.
In fact, it's too long to fit on the platform.
So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to make a split. We're gonna put the remaining cars from this track over here to this track right here. Just cut it in two. Here's how you disconnect two cars. All right, there's the couplers right there. This is the operating lever. You pull that up, they're gonna be able to disconnect. Right in the middle there's the air hoses. That's what connects the brake pipe. Train breaks away, it'll snap itself. Bang. This is the guy pulling the pin right here. There it is. Bang, there's the uncoupling. They're gonna take this part of the train, they're gonna put it on this track right here.
And to get it there, we need to throw a switch.
This junction here in the tracks, right here, that's a switch.
Throwing a switch determines which track the train will go down.
It's probably like my 20,000th switch right here. All right, here come our cars. This is the head end of the train. We're putting it on this track right here. All right, we've got the train on two tracks. We've got one half over there, the other half's over here, and voila, the train fits in Denver. Once this locomotive leaves Cheyenne, it's on its own, so it brings this baby with it right here. This is the Art Lockman. It's the maintenance car. It's got every possible thing that locomotive needs on board here. Let's go up inside and take a look. Wow, look at this place. Look at this wrench right here. You think that's big? You think this is a big wrench? I don't think so. I think it's the granddaddy of wrenches right here. Have you ever seen anything like this? This is insane. If something goes wrong with this train, they're not stopping at Walmart. This isn't a monkey wrench. This is a gorilla wrench. Man, look at that thing. They've got valve oil. They have engine oil. They've got vice grips. They've got welding rods. They've got a grinder. They've got cable ties. Batteries on charge. Old rubber gloves. Kind of reminds me of my old apartment. We even have a kitchen on this car. They've got a microwave. They've got any snack you can imagine here. Cookies, direct TV. You've got a fridge. This is better than an episode of Cribs. Here's a freezer with everything you could imagine in here. They've got this room that has poison gas. Wah, wah.
Whenever a train crew are working on the track, they have to make sure that another train doesn't run into them. So before they start work, the crew always sets a blue safety flag to let everyone know that they are there.
The blue flag's on. That means people are going to be working on this train. No other train is going to be able to come onto this track. work on these steam locomotives never stop. Every 100 miles or so, you have to lubricate them. These engines are labor intensive, and that's why the railroad get rid of them. I'm gonna give these guys a hand. Here's how this works. They take compressed air from this locomotive, and they power that gun right there. This is grease right here. This might look easy, but inside that gun right there, if my finger goes in there, it's gone. I'm not coming back with it. See that? All right, here we go. When it comes out like that, right here, inside that main rod, see it right there? That means that we've got enough grease in there. Every 100 miles, they go through 15 pounds of this grease. All right, it's all greased up. I still have all my fingers. My gloves are nice and dirty. Time to move on.
Union Pacific are constantly looking for ways to make today's railroad more high-tech and more efficient. But some of the greatest innovations in railroad technology date back to the 1800s.
I'm gonna go check out one of the most amazing feats in American railroading history, and it happened right in those mountains over there.
In the 1860s, a gold and silver rush swept the Colorado Rockies. And the fastest growing mining area was 45 miles west of Denver at Georgetown. But getting the ore down the mountain by rail seemed impossible until engineers designed the Georgetown Loop. Between Georgetown and the mine at Silver Plume, the track had to climb 850 vertical feet. The only way to do it was with a unique corkscrew design.
Best way to see it is in this guy right here. This is a track car. Let's take a ride.
This track car is ideal for riding steep mountain railroads. And Steve here is going to show me around.
And this is quite a grade, Steve. What's the percent up here?
This is the steepest part of the grade right here. This is 4%.
Wow. So for every 100 feet, you go up 4 feet or down 4 feet. That's huge.
Most railroads in America never get above a 2% grade. This is some of the steepest track in the country.
This is it. This is the Georgetown Loop. This is what it's all about right here. It's like in a parking garage or a spiral staircase. You go around like this to get to the top. This is amazing. Look, you can see the track right down there. It's a little scary right now. I mean, I can feel it in my stomach. Kind of get that roller coaster feeling.
At their peak, the mines this railroad serviced produced over $200 million worth of silver.
No matter what way you look at it, it's a lot of money, so this is why these guys were coming up here.
And without the Georgetown Loop, they would have never got the silver out. But the railroad didn't stop at the mine, it went inside as well.
This is what railroading was all about, for silver. They put it in this cart. This is an original cart from the 1880s. They'd load this with silver, bring it down to the train, and then they'd haul it to Denver. Let's go inside that mine and take a look. These are the rails that they used to push the ore carts down. These rails have been here since the mine was built in the 1860s. Probably some of the oldest rail in the country right there. Wow, look at that right there. This is called dragon's blood. It's coming out from underneath the rocks here. It's actually silver oxide. This is what the miners were looking for. They knew behind these rocks was silver.
Getting the silver out wasn't easy. The rocks had to be blasted with 12-inch sticks of nitroglycerin.
Put the sticks of nitroglycerin into these rocks. They make these blast holes. Had to be 12 inches deep. Guys could do about 1 inch an hour. Some sorry sap had to do this for 10 hours a day.
That's a lot of sore thumbs. I'm heading back to Denver, where the crew of the 844 are gonna have to work through the night to get the train ready for the trip to Cheyenne.
It's 5 a.m. and I'm in Denver's Union Station. We're about to take 750 rail fans on a journey back in time to when steam trains ruled America.
And we're gonna do it on a very special train.
The Union Pacific 844. It's pulled classic passenger trains like the Los Angeles Limited and the Portland Rose. It's even worked as a freight locomotive on the transcontinental route. Today, it's going to the Wild West Rodeo in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Before we load the 750 rail fans, there's a ton of work to do. Scott here is cleaning the rods. This is very important. It's not just for the rail fans to make them look pretty. After he cleans these rods, he can do a very good inspection on them. Look for any kind of cracks or any kind of stress fractures here in the rods. Little crack turns into a big crack. Eventually it's gonna break. Boom, the train derails. So this is a very important part of it right here. Hey Scott, can I give you a hand with that?
Sure can.
Man, he gave that to me pretty easy, didn't he? Wow, that's nasty under there. People get all romantic about the steam era, but I'll tell you what, it was a hell of a lot of hard work. I'm glad we don't have to do this on the diesel locomotives where I work. All right, it's scrubbed up nice. Now we just have to take a rag, wipe it down, and we're gonna inspect it at the same time, right, Scott?
Yes, sir.
How's it looking, Scott?
Everything looks good.
Looks good.
The locomotive's ready. It's time to head back to the cars.
Before these 22 cars can go to the rodeo, they need to be stocked. Loading the train with food is a crack team of Denver's finest caterers. Each car needs the right amount of food, cutleries, beverages, cups, silverware. If these guys mess it up, you're gonna have a bunch of unhappy rail fans. 22 trash cans, 30 cases of beer. Put everything right here. 60 cases of soda, 96 cases of water, over 2,000 coffee cups. They have 2,000 wine glasses, a mine full of silverware, 250 place settings. Like that?
Yes.
Did I pass? What are you giving me? What are you giving me for a grade?
D.
Ouch. All right, that's it. Everything's on board. This train is stocked and loaded.
It's 100 years since Union Pacific first laid on a special train to go to the rodeo. It's the high point of Denver's social calendar.
The tickets for this train sold out in 3 hours.
But not everyone is in it for the same thing.
There are two types of people riding this train. First, you get your cowboys that are going to the rodeo. So if you're a cowboy, you need the hat, you need the belt buckle, a nice pair of cowboy boots. The second kind of person is a rail fan. Now, if you're a rail fan, you want to have a baseball hat, preferably with a railroad logo on it. You got to have the T-shirt with the 844, because that's the train we're riding, and the worst, most god-awful pair of sneakers you could find. Let's go find the conductor. One more time, Carol.
Conductor Lee Jackson has been part of the Union Pacific steam team for 13 years.
How's it going?
Good, good.
All right, so what's going on here? We getting ready for some
We're
action?
about to load our passengers. They're going to release them from the station. All aboard is going aboard.
All aboard! We've got 20 minutes to get this train loaded. It's turning into a madhouse up here right now.
A train robber.
They've come all the way from Dallas to ride this train. We're in Denver right now. People come from Japan, they come from England. You think there's anybody from Maine here? One of the problems when you have a beautiful steam engine like the 844 is that everybody's down there looking at it right now. We got about 10 minutes, and they're supposed to be on the train. We gotta go get them. Look at all the people down there looking at that train.
All aboard!
If you're on the train, you gotta get going. Any more for the 844? You gotta go. All aboard! All right, looks like the platform's empty. We're ready to go.
Okay, you ready, Dick? Over?
Yep, let's go.
All right, here we go.
Now, all aboard, highball, over. Highball, 844.
Over the next 100 miles, the passengers on the 844 are going to experience the most amazing train ride of their lives. The Union Pacific 844 has left Denver's Union Station and is headed north to Cheyenne. She's the star of the train world, and she's getting a lot of attention.
This thing is like a celebrity. There's just people, throngs and throngs of people on Highway 85 out there heading north, chasing us up to Cheyenne, taking pictures, videotaping. They're in Hummers. They're in minivans. They're in Jeeps and Fords. It's like a traffic jam out there. Steve, I got a question for you. What's it like driving this celebrity? I mean, this thing is like a famous person.
Okay, it's hard to be humble.
Only a handful of people in the whole country know how to do what he's doing. The Union Pacific is the only Class 1 railroad that maintains a steam program. Without UP, nobody would really know what went on with these steam locomotives. It would just be in history books. This is living, breathing history right here today.
If anyone didn't know the 844 was coming through town, they sure do when they hear that whistle blow. But the whistle isn't just for show. It plays a vital role in keeping the train and the tracks safe.
Two longs, a short and a long, means the train's coming over a crossing. Steve, how many railroad crossings?
Over 100.
Over 100 railroad.
Yeah.
So you have to blow this whistle over 100 times.
Yeah.
Is one arm developed more than the other?
This looks like Popeye.
This arm's like Popeye, the other one's like olive oil. I've always wondered what it'd like to be to ride one of these steam locomotives. I've spent hundreds of hours in a diesel locomotive and I'm loving it. Loving it.
And I don't think I'm the only one having a great time on this train.
We just spooked a buffalo.
I'm back in the passenger coaches. Let's go find out what the rail fans are up to. I gotta warn you, rail fans are a strange breed. This is Boxcar Blaney. What are we gonna do today?
Well,
gonna sing
I
us a
got
song?
some helpers. Yeah, I got.
You guys can sing?
Yeah, this is Caboose. This is Flat Car, and they're going to help me sing a song up in the next car.
So we got Caboose.
This is Caboose.
This is Boxcar.
Yeah.
Flat Car.
And this is Flat Car.
I think you got the short end of the deal on the name Flat Car.
She'll be driving 6 white horses when she comes.
Yeehaw!
She'll be driving 6 white horses when she comes.
Yeehaw!
She'll be driving 6 white horses and driving 6 white horses. She'll be driving 6 white horses when she comes.
Yeehaw!
I'm inside the two coaches right now, right in between them, surrounded by rail fans. What they're doing is they're watching a freight train go by here. That's what we're waiting for. He's recording it on that recorder, every car that comes by. And what are you going to do with the tape after you recorded
I'm
it?
going to take it home, and on my model railroad, I'm going to listen to it as I'm running my 844 model HO gauge steam engine and the 3985 Challenger on my home layout.
It's like a soundtrack, sound effects. Rail fans are they're very passionate about this kind of stuff. If you don't know, you don't understand. I've come across 3 of the most dangerous rail fans in America. Look at this guy, he's packing heat. Check out these pistols. These guys are genuine sharpshooters. All right, that's my cue. I'm out of here.
We're just coming up on Cheyenne. Like so many cities in America, if it wasn't for the railroad, it wouldn't be here.
In 1865, General Dodge was in charge of surveying a route for the Transcontinental Railroad. He faced a huge challenge, how to build a set of tracks over this range, then called the Black Hills. General Dodge found the answer, a rock formation called the gangplank. It's a natural stone ramp that forms a steady incline over the top of the mountain. It's over 8,000 feet above sea level.
It runs for 40 miles from the high plain to the top of the mountain.
You can see it right here. This is the old roadbed. It's the original line that General Dodge built back in 1868.
And at the foot of the mountains, General Dodge founded a town, Cheyenne. In its heyday in the 1920s and 1930s, Cheyenne was UP's busiest yard. Hundreds of steam trains passed through here every week, and it took over 5,000 workers to maintain and repair them. In fact, the Union Pacific Railroad was the biggest employer in Wyoming. But in the 1950s and 60s, diesel technology took over. Diesel engines were much easier to maintain, needed fewer workers, and cost less. The age of steam ended. But the 844 lives on.
Cheyenne, Wyoming, home to the most beautiful steam engines in the world. All right, Rick, thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. Glad to see you.
Ed? Thank you, sir.
All right, guys.
One hell of an engineer right here. Thanks for the ride to Cheyenne.
Thank you very much.
Let's go to the rodeo. Go to the rodeo?
Going.
Yeehaw! Finally made it to Cheyenne. I've really got a new appreciation for what these steam guys go through. I had no idea. It's an amazing trip, but you know what? It's time to take off this conductor stuff and go to the rodeo.
All around the